Thanks for joining in on Harvey's Huddle. I'm Jackson Harvey. All things divisional round this week. We had a great, and I mean a great, wildcard weekend. Not only with the way that the teams played this weekend, but also with Harvey's Huddle. We went 6-0 with our predictions for every wild card game last weekend, and that also included a perfect prediction with the Rams and the Seahawks games. I was really proud of that. I wasn't perfect in score, but I did say a number of things like the Seahawks scoring 20 or less points, Cameron Akers going off for 100 plus yards and a touchdown, Jared Goff throwing a touchdown, Russell Wilson throwing 2 touchdowns, and the Rams defense getting a pick 6, and as well with the Rams winning. So it's been a great weekend. I enjoyed watching all of those games. Gonna do 2 episodes for you this week as well. Next week we'll go to 1 episode since there's only 2 games to talk about, but didn't want to put 4 games into a small time slot, so we're gonna put 2 games into 20 minutes or less. I got you. Okay. A lot of things we learned on the NFC side of things. We're going to focus on the NFC in this episode. A lot of things we learned. Tampa Bay barely hanging on to the onslaught that is Taylor Heineke. That was one of my favorite games to watch this past weekend. Heineke really just balled out. He played his heart out, even going to the locker room for a while and coming back. I'm not sure. I haven't read up on or looked up any of that info on what he was ailing with, but he played a great game. Washington really played their hearts out, and I thought that was a wonderful game. New Orleans and Chicago was an okay game. We actually saw a lot more out of Chicago than I thought we were going to, especially with that dropped pass in the end zone. Oh man, what could have been. And then, of course, Jimmy Graham scoring a late last-second touchdown and just running into the locker room. I wouldn't be too happy if I were you either, Jimmy. That wasn't a great game for you guys, but you did come out on defense and do a lot more than I thought you would. So great. Hats off to you, Chicago. Seahawks going down to the Rams. That was a rough one. A rough one to watch. If you're a Seahawks fan, because it didn't look like Wilson had it and didn't look like that team could do anything against a Rams defense. So 3 really good games on the NFC side, and we have 2 excellent games going on this weekend. Going to talk about Tampa Bay taking on New Orleans first. This is the 3rd game against these teams this year. We got another classic Breeze versus Brady matchup. I don't know if you've seen it. It's circled around. I'm sure you have seen it, but the meme that was sent to Tom Brady that he tweeted out earlier this week with a History Channel ad. This is the oldest matchup ever in the history of NFL, regular season and playoffs. This is the oldest matchup between quarterbacks in league history. So really exciting game. Saints won both of their regular season matchups pretty decidedly. Drew Brees, in their win against Chicago, he went 28 for 39, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Alvin Kamara went for 99 yards on the ground with a touchdown added on the ground as well. As close as it was and as close as Chicago made it, it may as well have been a bye week for the Saints. This one didn't really matter. They had the firepower to win no matter what. And I think they really didn't care much about that game. I wouldn't have. It was on Nickelodeon, for goodness sake. Anyways, I keep mentioning that. It really was well done by Nickelodeon. I saw a lot of highlights, and they did a great job. I thought it was a great program to try to get kids more interested in the game and to understand the game more. Just great all around. Absolutely great all around. The Saints offense, they really did okay against the Bears on Wild Card weekend. In terms of regular season stats, they do have the highest completion rate, so they're really efficient when it comes to the passing game on offense. That's also shown with them being tied for the 5th least interceptions thrown with 8 in the regular season, and I don't believe Drew Brees threw one. He did not throw one in their game against Chicago. But they do have the 8th least pass attempts thrown, and they have the 5th most rushing attempts in the NFL with 494. On top of that, they have the most rushing touchdowns in the league with 30, and that's a little bit of a misleading stat, if I may, because they did have that 4 or 5 week span where Taysom Hill was the starting quarterback, and they ran a significant amount more than they did, and they do with Brees in. So that accounts for a lot of their rushing touchdowns this season. On defense, they are among the top defenses, especially with passing. They had the most interceptions, tied for the most interceptions with 18 in the regular season, and the lowest completion percentage allowed with 59.8% in the regular season. Looks like Hendrickson is going to be available most likely. He's trending upwards at least. He had limited practice on Wednesday when I last checked, so he should be able to come back from his neck injury and really add an asset onto that defensive line and try to get after Tom Brady. Speaking of Tom Brady, he went 22 of 40, a dismal stat. That is not a very good completion percentage there. 381 yards through the air, though, and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. They fought off the Washington football team. Great defense played by them as well. Just all around a really good game by the Bucs here. Leonard Fournette, he was a starting running back with Ronald Jones. He was dressed, and it looked like he was not necessarily ready, but he was dressed and on the bench, but he didn't play very much. Leonard Fournette, he ran for 93 yards and a touchdown as well. The rush game really looks better with Leonard Fournette, in my opinion. I don't know Ronald Jones. I don't know him very well, but I do know Leonard Fournette, and I know his style of running, and I think it fit this offense really well. And I think if they want to go deep into the playoffs here and shock some people, they need to ride Fournette more, because he could really be an asset for them in their offense. Their O-line has been doing great too. That could be a really big reason for the success of Fournette on Saturday night. They took care of one of the best defensive lines in the NFL in Washington. So props to them. Hopefully they can do it again against a really talented defensive line in New Orleans. And in terms of Tampa Bay's defense, they really kept Antonio Gibson at bay. But Taylor Heineke balled out. I said it a few minutes ago, but he really balled out against this Buccaneers defense. Might be great in the rushing game, but Heineke threw it all over them, and he even ran pretty easily against this team. Now, I think that could be along the lines that, he only played 2 games before this one, and I don't think he started in either of them. He never thrown a touchdown before, I don't think, and there's just not a lot of tape on him, and I don't even think they expected him to play. They were prepping for Alex Smith all week, so that could be a big reason why he had so much success against the Saints, or against the Buccaneers, but we'll see. The Buccaneers have one of the best rush defenses in the NFL, so it'll be interesting to see how Kamara can do against this Buccaneers defense that's been trending upwards towards the end of the season. Interesting matchup, needless to say. Brady has not played well against the Saints this season. He's thrown a total of 5 interceptions, and he's been under 80 in terms of quarterback rating in both of those matchups. The second matchup, he was at 40 in terms of quarterback rating. He had 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So we'll see. Drew Brees is 7-2 in terms of his matchups when facing Brady all time. However, Brady is 5-0 here since week 13. And that was the Buccaneers bye week. In that stretch, Tom Brady has thrown 14 touchdowns and 1 interception. I really think Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are going to be able to stretch the Saints. If the Saints, they didn't struggle to keep Chicago out of the end zone, but Chicago definitely left some points on the board when it came to that game. And the Saints offense struggled against a Chicago defense that isn't amazing. It's not bad, but it's not a top tier defense in the league. So this is going to be interesting. I really think Tom Brady's going to come out and try to silence some critics. I think he is going to throw an interception or two, however, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as some of the games that the 2 games he's played against the Saints this season. I think Breeze is going to throw a few touchdowns, 3 touchdowns maybe. I think Kamara's going to rush for 150 yards, and he's going to get 2 total touchdowns. Not rushing for 150 yards. I'm going to call that all-purpose yards, 150 plus. And those 2 touchdowns, let's say a passing touchdown and a receiving or rushing touchdown. It's hard to call who's going to win, though. This Buccaneers offense is explosive, and I think the way that they've clicked in the last 5 weeks of the season has been phenomenal. 14 passing touchdowns in the last 5 weeks. I think that's the most in that stretch almost, but I think the Buccaneers are going to hang with them. And as much as I've ragged on the Buccaneers, I think they've made the necessary adjustments. And I think the Buccaneers could win this football game. And I'm going to call it a close one. I'm going to call this one. This is not what I wrote down in my script, however, but when I've been reading all of these stats and thinking about the way that the Buccaneers have played versus the Saints, I think the Saints are going to lose this game. And I think it's going to come off of a last-second field goal, 37-34. The Buccaneers will win this one. Wow, I've never done that before. I've never gone off of what I wrote down here, but I really think the Buccaneers can win that one. So we'll see. Tune into that one. I believe that's a Sunday game, so not sure if it's afternoon or evening. But I know that we're going to start off the weekend with LA taking on Green Bay. The Rams really shut down the Seahawks on Saturday afternoon. Jared Goff, he came in after I won't call it a dirty hit. It was pretty clean. Do I think it was necessary? Not really. But it was on the shoulder, so I won't call it a dirty hit from Jamal Adams. You hate to see it. Wolford went down. He was playing pretty well too. I think they would have won even if Wolford stayed in. But Jared Goff comes in and he throws 9 for 19, 155 yards and a touchdown. Cam Akers, he got 131 yards on the ground and a touchdown as well. Again, I really called this one pretty well last week. The offense looked okay. I won't say they looked great. I won't say they looked even good. They looked okay. They managed to put up 24 points or 23 points. They looked okay. They looked good. Enough to score 30 points, which is awesome for them. They really need the same showing from Cameron Akers, who had 176 total yards. That's both in the passing game and the running game. And Jared Goff, he needs to throw wild in Wisconsin. He needs to go to Lambeau Field and just be willing to take some risks here. I know you have an injured thumb. I know it's not very easy for you to throw the ball right now, but Sean McVay needs to find a way to get him to throw it like crazy or put in Blake Bortles. I really think it's going to depend on how the quarterback does in this kind of situation. And if Jared Goff can't get it done, don't be afraid to put Blake Bortles in the game. Blake Bortles took the Jaguars to the 2017 AFC Championship. I know after that season he kind of fell off the wagon, but I trust him with a Sean McVay offense that can really make use of your biggest asset. And I know Bortles has the arm to be able to throw it, and he also has pretty dang good accuracy on some short route games. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there with Goff's thumb. That's a big, important headline heading into this game. Meanwhile, the Rams defense really proved why they're one of the best defenses in the league. You saw multiple times DK Metcalf getting upset and throwing his helmet on the sidelines. He looked frustrated for most of that game. Even though he scored 2 touchdowns, he looked frustrated for a good amount of that game. Aaron Donald looks like he's going to play on Saturday, despite hurting his ribs in the Seahawks game. Sean McVay said that he's going to be out there no matter what. I really think they should be able to shut down Green Bay's running attack with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. And that's going to be kind of an interesting headline story, whatever you want to call it, when you're going into Wisconsin in the cold that is Lambeau Field this time of year. Another must-see, Jalen Ramsey lining up against Davante Adams. That's going to be one of the must-see TV moments in January. I am so excited to see what Adams can do against one of the best cornerbacks in the league. The Packers are coming off of a much-needed bye. None of them got COVID, so Aaron Rodgers is happy. Their offense, in terms of regular season play, they ended with the most passing touchdowns in the league with 48 and the least interceptions in the league with 5. One of my reasons why Rodgers is the undisputed MVP of the league is 48 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. That's an insane stat. Just insane. And he's led this team. You take Aaron Rodgers out of this team, I said it before, take him out of the team, that team's not making the playoffs even, I don't think. They're also tied for the 5th highest yards per rush with 4.8. And on top of that, Davante Adams has the most receiving touchdowns with 18. Their defense, on the other hand, they're not very flashy in any way in terms of stats, but I did find that they haven't allowed more than 286 passing yards in any game this season. All 16 games, 286 yards or less. But in 11 out of the 16 games this season, the Packers, they allowed 100 or more rushing yards. And on top of that, their defense only has 4 games this season without a turnover. It's going to be interesting. I really love the Rams. I really do. I love Sean McVay. I think he's one of the most excellent coaches in the NFL. I think they have a gem in Cam Akers. I think he's going to run for 100 plus and a touchdown again. But I don't think that this is the Seahawks secondary. They're not going to be able to throw it. And I mean, Jared Goff against a really bad Seahawks secondary didn't even throw it for very many yards. Only 155 and a touchdown. And only 9 completions. He played most of that game. And he only had 9 completions. I think Green Bay's secondary is going to be able to lock down this team, especially if Jared Goff plays the whole game. The Rams are going to have success on defense, but I don't think they're going to score a defensive touchdown at all. I think Aaron Rodgers is too good at keeping care of the football, and if they are to score a defensive touchdown, it'll be a fumble recovery, a scoop and score. Rodgers, he's going to throw 4 touchdowns. Aaron Jones is going to run in a touchdown as well. And I think the Packers win this one in a blowout, 38-13. That's shocking against a really good Rams defense, I know. But I think the Packers are going to be able to get it done and show the Buccaneers why they're the number 1 team in the NFC. And that'll be an interesting matchup to look at. If I'm right, which I think I am, Tampa Bay taking on Green Bay, that was the one low light for Aaron Rodgers this season is their game against Tampa Bay. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think the Packers have a really good chance of running up the score against the Rams because the Rams offense is just bad. And even if Ramsey is able to shut down Adams, which I don't think he will be able to, I think Adams is going to score at least 2 of those receiving touchdowns from Rodgers. Even if Ramsey shuts down Adams, I think Rodgers has developed enough trust in his other wide receivers that they're going to be able to get it done no matter what. There you have it. I got the Packers and the Bucks in the NFC Championship game. Harvey's Huddle first, me going off of my first impression when I was writing out the script, taking the Bucks instead of the Saints. I am very excited for this weekend. It's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be awesome to just sit back and relax and watch some really competitive football, I think. So enjoy that. Hit me up on Instagram at Harvey's Huddle or on Twitter at Harvey_Huddle, or if you like YouTube, check me out on YouTube. The channel name is Harvey's Huddle. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Jackson Harvey. This has been Harvey's Huddle. Take care.